It is another go around of SDH AM. John here, you there. Yes, the hair is out of control. I know that shocks each and every one of you. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday, and I got to fix the names. Let's see here. So, can we do it this way? Edit name and title. There we go. All right. So it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, and that means that pretty much anything is on the table, and it will be over the next little while because Dylan Butler is obviously one of the busiest men in show business. So Dylan, with everything going on with spring break, is trying to navigate all of that and try and also figure out, okay, can I come and visit Nelson this morning, as he traditionally does on a Wednesday? And so Dylan is kind of hopefully available in his normal time slot, but if he is not, then we kind of have the show structured, at least in the opening segments, in the opening 90 minutes anyway, where Dylan can drop by and he can talk about anything going on in CONCACAF. And he was on the desk last night for the Triple C, and it was an opportunity for him to see Nashville and their goalless draw, and morning Ricky, morning David, and an opportunity for him to see LAFC take care of business, BIDNESS, late night against Cruz Azul. We have highlights of both matches, and we will rock those here in the first hour plus this morning. We've also got posts from BJ Callahan after what happened last night, so we will hear from him, and we will we got the highlights from last night anyway. Okay, so this is definitely an opening kickoff kind of a thing. So look at this. All right, so full disclosure, and I'm going to unplug the headset here for a second. This is what happens when you try to pack things when you're leaving Johnson Gainesville after calling a match last night. So for those watching on the video side, you see how things are kind of tangled. Hang on just a second. Let me see. I'm going to unplug the headset here so I can actually have a line of things that I can hear this morning. So hang on just a second. Nothing personal. Now I can talk. Okay. All right. That wasn't too bad. All right. So, okay. So Ricky wasting no time with opening kickoff material. What did I think of the Braves Angels fight last night? So for those that may not know, I am a child of the 714 area code. I was born in right on the LA County, Orange County line. And I grew up hating the Dodgers. I did not like the Lakers. I didn't like the Rams. And I liked the first hockey team that came into town. And the second one I have a bit of an acronym for, or just a nickname that you can't really say on this program. Otherwise, you earn the E rating and it gets posted. So, yeah, I was born in Southern California. And this is definitely opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com, even though this is not one of the most important stories of the day. This is how we're going to start our morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy body, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. So I get home, and I'm kind of unwinding after the match last night that we had. It was a 1-0 win for Johnson Gainesville over Westminster here during spring break week. And yes, we will have a Red Clay Wednesday at noon. We're going to catch up with Scott New, the head coach at Carrollton, and Christy Verspril, the girls head coach at Long County. That's going to be a part of the hour at noon. So I get home, and admittedly, I am listening to CONCACAF Champions League. I'm listening to Dave Denholm on ESPN LA, and I've got the matchup here in the office, the second one, and I start to see what's going on over down the 5, at what's going on with the Angels and the Braves. And so, of course, I look it up, and I see Walt Weiss trying to tackle Jorge Soler. And then Jarrett and I start going back and forth because Jason's got Atlanta Soccer tonight, and so he was kind of busy. So Jarrett and I start going back and forth. And for Jarrett, it's, 8 o'clock in the evening, so he's in decent shape. And so we're watching the brawl, decent brawl, nicely called by all parties involved. And you see that it's, Jorge Soler, and then you see that Walt Weiss is going for he is going for the spear, basically, as Ricky says, with Walt Goldberg Weiss here. And you see that Walt Weiss is trying to keep Jorge Soler from attacking any other players. And you look at the Braves call, and Brandon Godin was he was running through what happened, and they finally got the center field shot up where they're rolling that tape, and you see Soler kind of staring at the Braves pitcher. Braves pitcher has the ball, and he's kind of wandering around the mound a little bit. And then he gets to the top of the mound, and he just kind of sees Soler. Soler walks a couple of steps forward. Braves pitcher walks a couple steps forward, and it's on like Donkey Kong. And nice 2.5-minute brawl. I give both teams credit. The mere fact that it was Jorge Soler, the irony was not lost on me there. And Jarrett and I were going back and forth about that particular individual. And basically, we both gave Jorge Soler a pass. It's like, look, after what you did in the World Series, where I don't think that ball has even come down yet, still 4.5 years later, the one that was absolutely destroyed inside the bandbox in Houston. Jorge Soler, I think, can do no wrong, or at least get no blame. So as an Angels fan, I was okay. It's like, look, the fact that they picked up Jorge Soler, I was happy about. Because God knows at some point this season, Mike Trout's going to be injured. They're going to need somebody to be a full-time DH. Yeah, as you can tell, my optimism toward the club that I have been a fan of for decades, and the inherent frustration therein is always going to be there. And anytime that Jarrett during baseball season wants to get in a good needle, all he has to do is mention my ownership group and how they double clutched on a sale. And so I'm fed up with it. So stuck with my owners, stuck with traditional pitching. It's like, look, we have all the offense in the world. It was like the one year when we went to the World Series and went up against San Francisco, and you had the one game in Anaheim that I attended, and you had Troy Gloss and Barry Bonds going at it, and I think it was, a 13-11 final, and Troy Percival ended up getting a save. Those kinds of games I'm anticipating when it comes to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim down the 5 freeway in Orange County that are in the state of California, but you can't call them LA anymore. Like, just call them the Angels, California Angels, and get it over with. Represent the whole state, even though, people in Sacramento might actually like it because of how much they hate the owner of the Oakland franchise. So, yeah, John Fisher, you can get the A's fans from Sacramento. You can get them to pay attention more to the River Cats than you could the Angels. So, the brawl, I was fine. I mean, they happen. The fact that it was Soler gets an excused absence for me. Ricky's along those same lines. Travis d'Arnaud cemented in his mind. Hope they do well over there. They will, I hope. But like I said, it's pitching that is always the downfall of the Anaheim Angels of Southern California down the 5 in Los Angeles in the 714 area code in Orange County. So I looked at it last night. You figured there might be a hot button moment, but I gave Jorge Soler an excused absence after that. Perfectly fine, and I had zero issue with it. So I just thought I drew a smile from the fact that it was Jorge Soler that was brawling against a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. And yeah, the fact that I can go on a gift machine, and actually you can go to like any gift creator, and this is how impactful Jorge Soler is now. Jorge Soler is so impactful that you can go on a gift app, machine, whatever you want to call it, device, a gift outputter, whatever they are. You type in Jorge Soler, and you get all of his moonshots from that season. You literally have the one from Houston where he hits the absolute bomb that hasn't landed, and you have tapping the crest, pointing down, all that kind of stuff. That is a legitimate GIF right now. In the GIF library, you go Jorge Soler, that GIF is available for you. That's how much of an impact Jorge Soler had on baseball because of how he responded that night in Houston. So last night, fine. I was all over it. Like I said, there's going to be a moment where our pitching is going to fail. Mike Trout is going to be injured, and I'm going to be stuck with it. And that's just kind of how it is. We will always be a 500 team, if that. Our pitching is going to be awful at points, and awful enough to where we're going to chase anything and everything. And don't even get me started on Shohei Ohtani. Don't even get me started on Shohei Ohtani and what that ended up as. That whole transaction that didn't happen, that was, to me, one of those where I'm just like, seriously? Sure, we'll go ahead and bring in a bunch of dudes off the waiver wire and keep Shohei Ohtani and not trade him at the deadline when we think we have an opportunity to get into the wild card race. We're going to hang on to him. And basically, at the end of the season, he walks away on a free, goes up the 5 to the Dodgers, and you see what he's been able to do up the 5 freeway. But no, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim down the 5 freeway in California, and yeah. So the brawl, 0 issues. The team, major issues. Absolutely. And so early parts of the season, we're actually at 500, but of course we're only 12 games in on a 162-game schedule. So 6-6, my Angels are 6-6, half game behind Texas in the AL West. And you look at the AL West, and team number 5 is just the Athletics. They apparently broke out the Sacramento uniforms the other day, and those went over well. That went over like a piece of interstate that is under construction that they've carved the top level off of, and the motorcycle guys are sitting there and they're looking at the sign going groove pavement and going, okay, great, cool. So, yes, the Angels 6-6 got into a brawl last night, and Jorge Soler was the main point. Braves right now at 7-5, and they are in Los Angeles for that one. And I am absolutely still beyond angry that you can't pick up a Nick Adenhart jersey or a Tyler Skaggs jersey through MLB.com. I could probably order one bootleg, but that doesn't get the point across. So thank you, MLB Shop. Anyway, so brawl, fine with it. Last night, Braves win over the Los Angeles Angels of wherever you are in Southern California, and it's going to be more of that tonight out on the West Coast. So maybe we'll have another brawl. Who knows? All right, so that was opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, right way to start your morning. Blackpitchcoffee.com, or Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. I'll have to take your word for it since I'm not a coffee person. Opening kickoff powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. And one other thing for you real quick. Morning Espresso, the morning newsletter that Jason puts together that gives you everything from one end of the sport to the other that preps your day, that comes into your inbox through our friends at Beehive. 2 E's, 2 I's, no E at the end. BEEHIIV.com, soccerdownhere.beehive.com. It goes out every morning, free. It's exactly what Atlanta soccer fans need to start their day. Easiest way, instead of going to Beehive, just go to soccerdownhere.net, and you can subscribe. You'll have it in your inbox starting tomorrow morning. Gives everything that you need to know about what happened last night, about what's going to happen today, about the stuff that you missed. And Jason puts it all together for you, and it comes out before SDH AM. So you have literally morning espresso in your inbox. You can read it while you're sipping your morning beverage, having your morning meal. And then SDH AM comes in behind, fills in the information from the morning espresso newsletter, and then your day's off and running. So go to soccerdownhere.net, subscribe to the Morning Espresso newsletter that Jason puts together, and I even use it for reference points for me because I have my information in one place. Jason will have more information sometimes than I will. Combine the information, and I have it. So it's like in a way, it's kind of like my crib sheet and my backup plan in case I forget something, which happens a lot. So Morning Espresso newsletter, subscribe to it. Go over to soccerdownhere.net. You can subscribe and add that to your stacks, and we would be grateful. And you also get to find out what else is going on. Things I miss, he picks up, and we go from there. So the ways to start your day. Morning Espresso newsletter from Jason and SDH AM get you running for the day. Okay, so the rundown is as follows-ish. So you have the opportunity to catch up with everything CONCACAF, everything going on in Champions League. We'll get you set up for what's going on today in CONCACAF. We'll get you set up for today what's going on in Champions League. In the first 90 minutes, we are going to catch up for the first time with our friends from the UPSL. And we find out what's going on in UPSL Georgia. And if you haven't had the opportunity to subscribe to podcasts and things that keep you posted on everything going on, this go around, you actually will get a Kareem Tamimi update. You get a Kareem Tamimi update. And so, yes, you were wondering what Kareem Tamimi's up to. He's in the UPSL, and we give you the opportunity to find out in UPSL Premier what's going on in the Georgia division. And we would also recommend that you subscribe to be a part of all of their information campaigns that are going on. And so, once again, we'll let you know what is up with what's going on in UPSL Georgia. And Andre will let you know what's going on there coming up in just a bit. Because when you go into the Georgia division, after the 98 different divisions that are in the state of Florida, it is two separate divisions in the state of Georgia. You have 9 teams in Georgia South, and you have another 8. We have another 9 that are in Georgia North. So 18 teams in the UPSL. In UPSL Georgia, Georgia North and South, and we'll let you know what's going on. Give you a tease of the weekly podcast that you can catch up with. And then the 9:30-ish hour under normal circumstances, 9:30 half hour, we'll take a bit of take a beat, let you know what's going on UPSL Georgia, catch you up there as a part of our Wednesdays going forward with our campaign to help you know what's going on a bunch of different levels here in and around the state. And it's great that we get to partner with our friends at ASMG TV and with UPSL Georgia to let you know what's going on with the 18 teams that are in the premier side for the UPSL. So it's Champions League, it's CONCACAF, the Hemispheric Extravaganza. It's UPSL, kind of lying in wait for Dylan Butler to ask him about what's going on after what happened last weekend. He was on the desk last night for CONCACAF, and hopefully he's not on the desk tonight, considering that he has whirling dervishes that are going on spring break, that are in spring break. And so we'll kind of navigate that and let you know what's going on in and around all of that. And then once again at 10:30, he's not on a plane. He is not on a plane. And it is Costa Smyrniotis, the executive vice president of the Canadian Premier League. He's going to join us at 10:30. We're going to go over everything that they're doing this season that are trials literally on the pitch and then on the touchline. And there's a lot going on in the CPL. I wanted to ask about the discussion that's like, hey, yeah, we'll do it. You know, you're the one that kind of stepped up. It's like, okay, volunteers, then you step forward. I want to find out what the discussions were like to sit there and say, yeah, we'll do that. And it's not just about the Wenger rule that is being instituted and trialed this year in the CPL. That's not the only thing that's going on. They have the video assist, football video support. You know, you might have seen in the under 18s, I want to say. Marko Mitrovic, he had the opportunity in an international tournament last year to brandish a red card of his own, but basically it's two-sided. It's not like a red card. It's like a cream-sided and red, and so you got to sit there. Basically, it's a challenge flag. And so they are instituting for this season also football video support, and I want to find out about the rationale and all of this, why you wanted to do that. Then you have a couple of other things having to do with match flow. involving IFAB's rules back in February. CPL's implementing this. And this is stuff that we've seen in MLS Next Pro also. So the IFAB is now taking that, like, ooh, we like that. And so CPL is now doing this also. Throw-ins and goal kicks. Referee determines a throw-in or a goal kick is being deliberately delayed. You're going to have a 5-second countdown. And I'm guessing that the center ref is putting his hands well over his head, and he's going to do 5. And if you don't put the ball in play in that 5 seconds, it's going to be either a throw-in or it's going to be a corner, depending on the action that has caused it. So it's going to be a throw-in being awarded to the opposite team, or it's going to be a corner for a delayed goal kick. So you've got that. It's a part of it. Substitutions, once again, 10 seconds. We know this from MLS Next Pro. And then if it's not, if you're not in and out in 10 seconds, then you get that 1 minute man advantage. And then off-field treatment and assessments. Once again, player receives an on-field assessment or an injury, causes play to be stopped. You've got to leave the field, and I think it was a 10-second count to get up and or go. And then if you don't leave, then once again, it's a 1-minute power play, basically. So I wanted to get into those things with Mr. Smyrniotis this morning with the EVP, and all I can think of is Matt, and it's Matt Jackson from AEW when I mentioned that. But yeah, so at 10:30, Canadian Premier League, EVP Costa Smyrniotis is going to join us, and he's going to break down all of the trials and rules that are being implemented and instituted that we've seen in MLS Next Pro. MLS Next Pro sent him to IFAB. IFAB was like, yeah, okay, cool, we'll do that. And so now they're in the Canadian Premier League. So you now have 2 leagues here in this hemisphere in a circular manner, one taking after the other after an IFAB discussion. So I wanted to get into the behind the scenes of all of that and find out what's going on with the Canadian Premier League and find out how it went, because they did have their first instance of FVS on the weekend, and you had a successful challenge there. And so, like I said, I just wanted to see why, and then I wanted to see, what the rationale was, what the response has been. Is everybody warm to it? Are they still trying to get adjusted to the rules of engagement when it comes to all of these things? What the common support has been like, what they anticipate from this, what they're looking for out of it. So EVP of the Canadian Premier League is going to join us at 10:30 to break down everything that went down with all of it. All right, so last night, let's work our way from Champions League. Let's do that first. So Champions League yesterday, it was, the 2 matches at 3 o'clock, and it was a very, very busy day for a couple of folks. You end up with 2 wins, both very tight. Arsenal knocking off Sporting, Kai Havertz getting the late goal for the victory there. And then you end up with Harry Kane and Bayern getting 2 goals on the board. And then it was an uphill battle for Real Madrid. 2 goals in 5 minutes of play, not 5 minutes of actual time, but goal in the 41st, Luis Diaz. It was 1-0 at the break. Harry Kane scores in the 46th. So you end up with 2 goals within 5 minutes of game state. And this was at the Bernabeu. Then Kylian Mbappe scores with 16 to go. And you're wondering, okay, is Real Madrid going to be coming? Are they going to get the equalizer? They kept chasing it. They didn't get it. But it's a big win for Bayern on the road in this first leg. And so Vincent Kompany once again showing that he is not a man to be messed with. A lot of folks sit there and they were wanting, it's like, well, can Vincent Kompany coach here, and coach here? The answer has been yes, yes, and yes at each step of the way. Either side of halftime, and you were kind of wondering in that final 16 minutes after the Mbappe goal, were they going to get an equalizer? And Manuel Neuer had 9 saves on the day for Bayern, age 40. 40 years old, and you're sitting there and you're going, yep, that's what the guy can do when he wants to dial it back. And he did it yesterday for Bayern. Vincent Kompany after the match, we could have scored more. They could have scored more. 39 shots when the first goal came 4 minutes before the break. You had Luis Diaz once again, that it had taken that long. It was a great back and forth game yesterday involving those two sides. Vincent Kompany said he wanted his team to show no fear. They didn't do that. They showed absolutely no fear. And so they just went right at Real Madrid from the absolute beginning. And a lot of pressure. First shot came 43 seconds. Conrad Leimer could have scored. Elise could have 4 minutes later. Andre Lunin had a very, very busy day, tipping over a Joshua Kimmich shot from a corner. Harry Kane to Upamecano. And then that was a slam dunk opportunity that got missed. And then you have all of that going on. Neuer denies Mbappe, denies Vinicius. Bayern presses. Serge Gnabry could have given him the lead. Another shot inside the 6. And then Looney needed to come in with another stop. And so, yeah, this whole back and forth, it was a great matchup. 24 goal attempts, both teams on the day. Possession about 50-50, but once again, looking at possession in and of itself is not really something to keep an eye on. So 11 opportunities in the matchup for Real Madrid. 13 for Bayern Munich, 7 on target, 9 on target for Real Madrid, 11 corners compared to 8, 23 fouls, fairly even. Yellows to Neuer, Ta, and Luis Diaz on one side, and then adding Jamal Musiala after he came in with 20 to go. Then Tchouaméni gets a yellow, so you got 4 players with yellows for Bayern. Ask them if they care, and so Bayern ends up with the result 2-1 in one of the 3 o'clockers. And then you end up with Kai Havertz getting the late victory for Arsenal once again, 90 plus 12 seconds. So Sporting had hung on at the Estadio Jose Alvalade. They hung on for 90 minutes. They needed to hang on for more than 90 minutes. So at 90 plus 12 seconds, Kai Havertz ends up getting the Duke there, giving them the big advantage heading back home. 59% to 41% in possession. Starting lineup: Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Odegaard, Zubamendi, Declan Rice, Noni Madueke, Gyökeres, and Trossard. 4 goal attempts, all 4 of them on target. For Sporting, who only had 41% possession, and we can get a better answer on Sporting and their DNA tomorrow when our buddy Nino Torres wanders in. 41% possession, 6 off target, 5 on target. 20 fouls, 11 to Sporting. Starting lineup was Rui Silva, Fresneda, Diamande, Ignacio, Arujo, Morita, who got a yellow, Simoes, Catamo, Trincao, Gonçalves, and Luis Suarez. No, not that Luis Suarez. And so you end up 1-0. Arsenal with the win. They head home. 2-1 win for Bayern. They get the win. They head home. And so we'll find out what happens with those next week. But, not to be outdone, we got 2 more today. PSG and Liverpool is one of them. And that one, frankly, I don't know. I'm not the most optimistic sort when it comes to that matchup. If you're a Liverpudlian or a Liverpool fan, PSG's favorite on the minus side at a minus 125. Draws a plus 309. Liverpool's a plus 300. And I don't know if you know this, but Barcelona and Atleti are playing each other for like the 9 gazillionth time. Barcelona favored big at home at the Camp Nou at a minus 192. Draws a plus 400, and Atleti is a plus 459. So Atleti coming from a rather large underdog position to end up, trying to end up with a result that they can dig heading back to the second leg. Yesterday at the MD-1, Diego Simeone did confirm Griezmann's move to Orlando, and he, at that MD-1, gave a very, very heartfelt tribute to Griezmann before the exit. They were both up on the dais at the MD-1. And Griezmann didn't know this was coming. And so Simeone decided he wanted to take a little time. He says, I wanted to take this opportunity to speak not just from the perspective of a coach, but also as the Atletico fan that I am. I want to thank you for your hard work and your humility. You're an admirable person in a society where young people need role models like you. Thank you for everything you've given us, are giving us, and will continue to give us. Thank you for your commitment, for knowing how to distinguish between the friendship we share and the professional relationship between a coach and a player. I view you first as a player, and only then as a friend. We have 8 league matches remaining, 1 cup match, and God willing, 5 more matches in the Champions League. Simeone then joked, I encourage you, quote, to keep enjoying yourself. I care about you deeply, but if you don't run tomorrow, you're coming off. And then Griezmann, after the tribute given by Simeone, Griezmann said he was surprised by Simeone's words, promised to return the sentiment of gratitude when they next get together with their families. Simeone was asked if Griezmann, who is the all-time leading scorer at 211 goals across all comps, best player he's ever coached. Simeone said, quote, I'm grateful to have had such a difference-making footballer. He arrived playing out wide, went through a difficult 3 months, trying to figure out where he fit in. Told him that I envisioned him playing in a more central position, one that required incredible mental energy. Since then, he's often finished the season as our top scorer. Yes, he is indeed one of the best players I've ever had. Regarding his future in Major League Soccer, Griezmann said he's currently focused on facing his former club Barcelona rather than thinking about what he expects once he moves to Orlando at the end of the season. I wouldn't want to look at Orlando right now if I was Griezmann. Quote, been working and looking for what Cholo, meaning Simeone, needed from me. Right now, it's not the right time to talk about Orlando and what I will do over there. Tomorrow, we will play in the quarterfinals, and it's something incredible. Lots of high-level football. I have a clear head to face it, and I want to help him as much as I can. Understandable words from Griezmann. And frankly, I'd want to focus on Atletico Madrid too. I wouldn't necessarily want to focus on what's going on with the purple team until I absolutely had to, giving up 11 goals in their last 2 matches. By the way, Friday morning at 10, it'll be the Kanji Man. Steve Cangelosi is going to join us for the weekend preview. He and Danny Higginbotham have the Saturday showcase, which is Charlotte and Nashville. And so Danny's going to join us at 10 o'clock on Friday morning. So you've got that coming with the Champions League. But we mentioned yesterday, if certain things happen in the 3 competitions that are going on, you could end up with a 7th place team in the Premier League getting a Champions League spot. So the Premier League's guaranteed themselves 5, which traditionally means 6 goes to Europa, 7 goes to Europa Conference. So we have math. Rewarded for the place in the coefficient table, getting a European performance slot for a 2nd year running. So now they will, England mathematically ensured they will finish top 2 in the coefficient table. 5 clubs remaining in the quarterfinals. Points collected through the league phase made England the runaway leaders, according to our friends at Talk Sport. If Aston Villa finish outside the top 4 but win Europa, it would mean that the Premier League would have 6 teams in the Champions League. Same scenario applies to Liverpool. If either win a European trophy and finish 5th in the EPS qualifying position, Champions League place will drop down to the team in 6th. However, in a specific circumstance, if both Liverpool and Villa win their respective European campaigns and finish 5th and 6th, the extra place would put 7th into Champions League. Forest are in the quarterfinals of Europa, and if they win, they could qualify for Champions League despite not yet securing their top flight status next year. Spurs finished 18th, qualified for Champions League last year by winning Europa League. Igor Jesus for Forest said yesterday getting to the final and winning Europa would be a dream come true, especially as the top scorer. Porto have a great team, and he said some complimentary things there. So in that scenario, it would also create a 6th team in the top European competition from England, same way that Spurs qualified last year. Bundesliga could still mount a late charge after Bayern's win over Real Madrid. Spain remains second favorites to claim an EPS spot ahead of Germany and Portugal. And so the race to 5th, right now, Liverpool at 49, Chelsea at 48, Brentford and Everton both at 46, better goal difference to Brentford by 2 goals. Fulham at 44, Brighton at 43, Sunderland at 43, worst goal difference, Newcastle 42, Bournemouth 42. So literally from 5th to 13th, you've got 9 teams separated by 7 points with 7 matches to go. And we talked on SOT on Monday night about how kooky it could get down the stretch. And yes, that was your most recent example of how kooky it could be. And so that's your rundown of that. And you could have a lot more teams in the Premier League and showing up in Europa, Champions League, and Conference League. That could happen. So speaking of same, in Europe, we still have other stuff going on with Europa League and Conference League. Today, there is one matchup in Europa League. Braga favored at home against Betis. Braga, and this is at 12:45. Braga is a plus 150. Betis a plus 190. Draws a plus 225. You have 3 other games tomorrow. We'll catch up with them more in depth tomorrow. Bologna dog at home to Villa. Freiburg favored at home to Celta de Vigo. Porto favored at home to Nottingham Forest. Then Conference League. They're in the round of 8 there as well, and that's tomorrow. Rayo Vallecano favored at home against AEK Athens. Shakhtar and AZ Alkmaar they have as a dead flat, just a dead flat one, plus 163 in the composite. So literally what you have when I give the juice boxes, you have numbers that are given by multiple juice box purveyors. They take an average. So you end up with an aggregate number. The juice box purveyors in their aggregate number of Shakhtar and AZ Alkmaar have still come up with the same thing. Dead heat, but a plus 163 either side, draws a plus 229. We'll see if that changes. Happy to be here FC, otherwise known as Crystal Palace. Big favorite at home against Fiorentina, and Mainz, even money plus 100 hosting Strasbourg. And we'll keep an eye on those for tomorrow. So we keep an eye on those. And you'll probably have your Golasso show and things like that. But when we get there, we'll get there. So that's your activity in Champions League, what to keep an eye on going forward, all the things. Now, CONCACAF yesterday. When you look at the 2 matchups that were there in CONCACAF, early and late for the Triple C. And so last night, it was Nashville hosting Club America and LAFC. And Dave Denholm, by the way, their play-by-play voice, whose highlights you'll hear in a sec, is awake. Dave, I think, has been awake since about 5:30 in the morning. He sent a note, and he goes, "Never sleep well after an amazing win, and I don't mind at all." After I sent him a note, and I said, "You're up way too early, sir." You sit there, and he's like sending notes out at 5 o'clock in the morning, LA time. Busy day for Dave Denholm after a busy night. We'll get into the highlights in a bit. But you end up with, last night, Nashville and Club America, and we'll get into the stats here. And then we'll get into the highlights. We'll hear from BJ Callahan coming up in a sec. So last night at Geodis, Nashville and Club America played. Here's your highlights. There weren't any. Goalless draw. 3 yellow cards along the way. Starting lineups, and this is something to keep an eye on for the reverse fixture next week, because after that reverse fixture in Mexico, Nashville comes to Atlanta to take on Atlanta United. Schwakey in net. Left to right, Reed Baker Whiting, Woleji, Palacios, and Andy Nahar. Your 2 6s, Corcoran and Yazbek, Madrigal, Mukhtar, Espinoza, and Surridge in the attack for Nashville. Stats on the night as they load. I just want the stats from the evening. I don't want like group stats from the entire thing. I just want stats from the evening. I don't want the entire. It's like, just give me the stats from the evening. Literally, that's all I want. That's all I want. I just want the stats from the night. But no, can't have that. We can't. Okay, well, maybe if I hit this button, maybe that'll work. Okay, so possession. Nashville had 56% possession to 44. You had 17 picks, but 12 of them went to Club America. And you had, let's see, in the attack, 21 shots. Nashville had 13 of them. 7 shots on target, 4 of those to Club America, 3 blocks on each side. Shots outside the 18, 6 by Nashville, 3 by Club America, which meant obviously that 7 were inside the 18 compared to 5. Then on distribution and defense, passing accuracy 82.5% for Nashville, 70% for Club America. Crossing accuracy 5 of 12 basically for Nashville in the evening. No completions on crosses for Club America last night. Defensively, 25 tackles, 15 of them went to Club America, and 19 clearances, 11 went to Nashville SC on the evening. O'Shane Nation was the man in the middle after the match. BJ Callahan was asked about what he thought with what went down in the goalless draw. This is courtesy of CONCACAF, their own selves.
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams created minimal chances, a couple good looks for them, a couple good looks for us. I thought the game was fairly under control, and then each team had to kind of, manage a few transition moments. So, yeah, I mean, the result is fine, 0-0, and, clean sheet is always positive.
And obviously you tied Inter Miami 0-0 in the round 16 of this tournament, went down to Miami, then won on the away goals there. Does that give you a little more confidence going into leg 2 in Mexico next week?
Yeah, of course. I think, whenever you can lean on past experiences and those opportunities, that's something that we can do. And I think, same way we were able to play Miami and at that same, make adjustments and have to go down there. I think it'll be very similar with the way that we'll process this game, look to make a few adjustments and, try to be better.
We'll go Ben, then Gentry, then Valer.
BJ, you mentioned kind of how the game felt like it was mostly under control. It felt like a lot of the times when you had the ball, you were going up against a pretty set defense. What did you, I guess, see that Club America were doing to maybe kind of close things down, and how did you like how your team kind of approached trying to break them down?
Yeah, I thought Club America was really organized. Not a lot of space in between the lines. So, I think for us, we have to continue to find ways to sort of, disorganize the opponent, to continue to try to find ways to create more scoring chances. I think that's something that we'll always analyze and look. It's kind of also, it's not unique. That's something that we want to do. So yeah, I think they were really organized, and kind of, I think the compactness, especially in between the lines, was really good by them.
And I guess, where do you find maybe the balance between positivity that you created chances to score, but also maybe urgency to need to finish those chances?
Yeah, I think for us, it's about creating good goal scoring chances. We know the areas in the field that we want to get the ball into, to then execute kind of those chances. So for us, it's just about making sure that we can find a variety of ways to do that.
BJ Callahan, after the match last night, goalless draw, as they head to Club America. They go to Liga MX hostile territory next week, and they will have a little bit of work to do to try and get out of the quarterfinals in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. Then, late last night, 10 o'clock local time. Like I said, that's why I was discussing what Dave Denholm was up to. Dave Denholm had a very, very busy evening. And after nights like last night, I don't know how he has a voice. I'm hoping he's just on vocal rest and he's just typing today because of everything. And you'll hear in a sec just how busy the evening was for Dave Denholm over at ESPN LA as LAFC puts up a big marker against Cruz Azul at BMO last night. And it was the names that you would expect, and then one who had a bit of a hemispheric coming out party. Starting lineup for LAFC, Lloris in net, Segura, Tafori, Ryan Portia, Sergi Palencia, your back four. Delgado and Chouanier in front of them. Denny Bouanga, David Martinez, Timothy Tillman, and Son Heung-min. That was your attacking four. Stats on the night for this particular go-round. And for LA, it was a couple of goals in the first half, and it was pretty much – it was over at that point, but you end up getting the third one to cement what was going on. Possession, once again, LAFC had a lead. They didn't care. Cruz Azul had 65% possession, meant nothing. 16 picks, 9 of them went to LAFC. Cruz Azul had 7 of the 8 corners on the night. Once again, when you've got a lead, you don't care. Distribution, passing accuracy, just under 90% for Cruz Azul, just under 80% for LAFC. 35 crosses. 35. You want to talk about bombing in crosses? 35 crosses for Cruz Azul, 9 for LAFC. Once again, when you got a lead, you don't care. 35 crosses. And it was 7 of 35 on those crosses for Cruz Azul on the night. In the attack, once again, 15 shots Cruz Azul compared to 8. 3 of those shots went in for LAFC. 5 shots on target, which meant 2 saves. 5 shots on target both sides. Shots outside the box, 2 for LAFC. The other 6 were inside the 18. 9 shots outside the 18 and then 6 inside the 18 for Cruz Azul. Defense, 20 tackles for LAFC. They had 4 more tackles with a lead to preserve said lead than Cruz Azul did. 38 clearances for LAFC on 35 crosses. That'll do it. When you're 7 of 35, that's 28 of your 38 right there. 38 crosses clear, or 38 clears for LAFC compared to 10 for Cruz Azul. 23 fouls on the night, 13 for Cruz Azul, and then 4 yellows, 3 of them to Cruz Azul on the night. So you end up with goals on the board, but it took a while. Take you to the 30th minute for goal number 1. Matthew Chouanier pairs up with Son Heung-min. 1-0 LAFC. Here's Denholm with the call on ESPN LA, courtesy of them and CONCACAF.
Puts it on the ground at second touch. Martinez's first touch kind of eludes him, and he almost runs into trouble there. Tillman has to clean it up. Oh, and it might work out as Chouanier takes off down the line. Chouanier has players in the middle. Cross towards Son. Shot it in! LAFC on the counterattack have sprung it against Cruz Azul, and Son Heung-min with a goal! Oh, on the counterattack, lightning quick for the black and gold. And they lead 1-0. Son, second of the competition. Great ball by Timothy Tillman to lead Chouanier, who had beaten the defense. And Matthew Chouanier's pass into the middle was brilliant to the diving Son on the ground. And he got there before Kevin Meir could cut off the ball. And Son just buries it. From 7 yards out, Son Heung-min. What a goal there from the South Korean captain. And he gives LAFC the 1-0 lead.
And yes, I did take it from the halftime show. That's why they have the groovy music underneath. Because I started, I was rolling on the match. But yes, it was faster for edit's sake to just see if they could compile it at the halftime show, and they did. So 1-0 at that point. And then you end up with another goal, handful of minutes later, 9 minutes later to be perfectly honest. And it's an opportunity once again, Matthew Chouanier, who Jason absolutely loves. From his time in Europe, when Chouanier, and also from Montreal, but when he was available in Europe, I think it was from Grasshopper, Jason had a lot of positive things to say about Matthew Chouanier. LAFC fans have had a lot of positive things to say about Matthew Chouanier. 2-0, 39th minute, first goal on the night for David Martinez. Trust me, it's here. At ESPN LA and CONCACAF, by the way.
Plays it in the middle, Chouanier. Good turn by Matthew. Get some space. He's going to send it down this right wing, looking for David Martinez to try to outrun the defender. David gets there first. David into the area, still on the ball. David shot and in! Martinez has done it! Oh, what a goal from David Martinez! The crowd goes crazy at BMO Stadium. Martinez has done it again! La Joya de Venezuela! Oh, David, you magical player, you! 2-0 LAFC! Oh, what a goal from David Martinez! Denis Bouanga with the defensive work deep in his own defensive half. Got it to Schwanier, who made a brilliant turn and sent Martinez on a run with a long ball, and David did the rest around Eric Lira. And Lira will have nightmares of this goal. Mir came out. David slipped it through on the shot through Kevin Mir and in.
2-0 at that point, 2-0 at the break. And it was more the same second half. So you end up with literally a goal in the 30th, a goal in the 39th. So 2 goals, 9 minutes apart. And Cruz Azul at that point, they are trying to find anything that can be registered as positive offensively. Hadn't found it. And then you end up with David Martinez getting a brace, 58th minute. And once again, courtesy of our friends at ESPN LA and CONCACAF, hang on to your ears for this one. Dave Denholm comes out of his shoes. A little bit more normal than others.
Middle, shot it in! David kept it and scored! Oh my goodness! I can't believe what I just saw! I thought Martinez was going to feed Denis, and so did Cruz Azul to their peril! David Martinez with his second of the game. It's 3-0. David Martinez faked me and Cruz Azul out of our shorts. He has scored again, and he and Son and Denis with a celebratory dance in the corner in front of the 32-52. LAFC 3, Cruz Azul 0.
And it is looking like they are rolling. ROLLIN apostrophe. That is where they are right now. And if you look at, once again, you look at the bracket, and the left-hand side of the bracket, you get upper left and lower right. That's happening tonight. Winner of Nashville and Club America. Wow, and that's a late start. Oh, I think they might have officially. Oh, no, did they? I don't think they've fallen back yet. But a week from, so today's Wednesday, next Tuesday night, 11:30 Eastern, Nashville and Club America from Club America. And that one, winner of that series, takes on the winner of Tigres in Seattle. Tonight at 9 o'clock is leg one of that one. Then you have winner of Cruz Azul and LAFC, Toluca and LAG. That one is tonight. So you end up with Toluca and LAG. Toluca, massive favorite at the Estadio Nemesio Diaz, by the way. Minus 303. Galaxy, this one has expanded to where at 11 o'clock tonight, LAG goes into Toluca as a plus 800 underdog. Draw, by the way, is a plus 450. I'm intrigued as to how LAG comes out in this one. Just, I mean, literally from the absolute beginning, what their approach is if you're Greg Vanny. Going into a hostile environment like Toluca at a minus 303, draws plus 450, and you come into the building at a plus 800. Tigres, by the way, favored at home at a minus 147, taking on Seattle, who's a plus 400. Draws a plus 275, and at least it's the early game tomorrow, tonight, 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock, Tigres in Seattle. 11 o'clock, Toluca hosting LAG. So that's what you're staring at with those in the CONCACAF rounds of 8. Bracket once again, Toluca, winner of Toluca and LAG takes on the winner of Cruz Azul and LAFC. So you could have, in theory, an El Trafico, but LAG's got a lot of work to do. Left-hand side of the bracket. And then the right-hand side of the bracket, winner of Tigres and Seattle Sounders takes on the winner of Nashville and Club America. That's your round of 8 in CONCACAF. And once again, thanks to ESPN LA, Dave Denholm, who I hope is on radio silence today, and CONCACAF for the highlights. And thanks once again to CONCACAF for the sound from BJ Callahan after last night and the goalless draw there. So that's your rundown of everything that has gone on in CONCACAF. That's your rundown of everything that has gone on in what is going on in Champions League. That's the words I'm looking for. All right, so let's take you into what's going on in the UPSL really quick. And once again, Costa Smyrniotis, Canadian Premier League EVP, joining us bottom of the hour. We'll see if Dylan can join us. Dylan is out on spring break, and he's trying to make sure that folks get to camps and things like that and get to where they're supposed to be after being on the desk last night for the Triple C. So if Dylan can join us between now and 10:30, he will. All right. So in the UPSL right now, as things stand, and like I said, I'm kind of drifting in and out of the UPSL just to kind of give you an idea. Season's just started. You are in match week 3 in some spots. You are in literally some folks have just picked up their boots for the first time. And there are 2 divisions of 9 in UPSL Premier in Georgia. You've got Georgia North, Georgia South, LSA Mustangs, Georgia Impact, Chattanooga Red Wolves 2. This is where Red Wolves have put their developmental side. Scenic City, Potros Pachuca, Soccer Saves Lives FC, FC Birmingham, and Atlanta Fire United. That's your 9 teams in the north. Georgia South, you have Kalanji Pro Profile, who've already been up and running because they took on Chattanooga FC in Open Cup. And they've run the table. They're 4-0. They've scored 15. They haven't given up a goal yet. FC Columbus Elite, UFA Lawrenceville, Red Top Soccer, Georgia Revs, Angeles, UMAFC, Augusta Arsenal, and LSA Norcross Pro. And this is where we bring in our friends from ASMG to kind of let you know what's going on, because they are out there and they give you all of the highlights that you need, all the stuff that you need to know about, and all of the back and forth and everything that goes on here early in the season when it comes to everything in the UPSL. And on Wednesdays, our goal for you is to keep learning kind of about what's going on in the UPSL. And so this way, you get to see what's going on in an abbreviated form. And then we also kind of send you over to ASMG's Back Pass podcast. And it is an up-to-date weekly look at everything that is going on in the UPSL with highlights and context and understanding. And so here's a bit of this week's Back Pass podcast from our friends at ASMG to kind of give you the first primer this season as to what's going on in UPSL.
Now, we did have 2 additional games that were contested, both out of the South Division. Most teams were not in action due to the holiday weekend, but we'll cover both of them here. Both of these games were covered by ASMG TV. The first one by Kalanji Pro Profile over Angeles, a game where they really showed a lot of dominance in how they've been playing this season. Braden Kalanji and Kalen both got on the score sheet along with Medard and Kareem Tamimi. But Angeles did have an opportunity, a couple of opportunities to get into the match, particularly one shot that was cleared off the line in the second half. But Kalanji really are in irresistible form right now. And we'll see here with this shot that ended it all with Kareem Tamimi coming back into the side. Really emphatic victory for them, 4-0, to continue on with their defense of the division title. So that's going to be a team that's going to be at the summit that other teams are going to have to try to knock off the perch. And we'll see how that comes about as the season continues on. So the other game also out of the South was UFA Lawrenceville. We talked about how well they played against UMA. the previous week. Again, they come away with all 3 points with a 3-2 victory over Red Top SC. And the most interesting thing about this game was the fact that of all the 5 goals, 4 of them came off of penalties, and 3 of them from UFA, which were all of their goals, and 1 from Red Top. And so it's a very unusual thing. I'm not sure I've ever seen a game in the UPSL that had that many penalties that decided it. But it's an interesting game. We have it on our YouTube channel. Check it out. It's probably something you won't see very much in the future here. But yeah, the bottom line is UFA came away with the victory, keeps them in great contention there as they fight to stay with Kalonji per profile as the season goes on. So that is the ending of the competitions for the matches themselves. We'll have to take a look now at the South table and see how that's going about. And again, we talked about the dominance that Kalonji per profile have had. And you see here they're firmly in first place, having played one more game than most other teams outside of Red Top SC, and standing on 12 points, 4 games, 4 wins, no goals conceded, and just really in fine form in their defense of the division title. Right behind them is FC Columbus Elite, having played 1 less game, but staying in contention and touching distance along with UFA Lawrenceville, who have won 2 games in a row after a first round loss to start the season. Red Top is in and around there, holding on to a playoff place. As I said before, the top 4 in the division will qualify for the playoffs. And so you have Red Top not in a bad position, although they dropped a game this past week. They're still in contention, and Coach Fasahene is going to have a lot to work with in the coming weeks as he gets his team ready for the competition ahead. Georgia Revolution only played 2 games, but they did get their first victory this past week in round 3. So they're going to have to play a little bit of catch up as they make up games and try to get positive points going forward. And we talked about Angeles, strong team coming in from Division 1. I think their key is going to be survival right now. We'll have to see if there's any hope for them to maybe grab hold of one of those playoff places by the end of the season. But it's going to be tough with the competition that's ahead of them already on points. So UMA FC, again, I think a team that skipped the fall season, a Premier Division team that skipped. I think that right now, as they rebuild their team, they're going to have to look at survival. Lost heavily to UFA Lawrenceville, as we covered, but a lot of good coaching there. Coach Andrew does a great job down there, great academy support there. So I expect as they have some of their first line players return, they may get into the hunt for a playoff place as well. Augusta Arsenal and LSA Norcross bringing up the rear there. Both are going to have to really work hard. I think for them too, the goal is going to be survival, and we'll have to see how that works out for them as the coming rounds come around, and we'll keep a close eye on those teams.
Now we go. There we go. That is kind of a weekly look as to what you're looking at when it comes to UPSL. And if you are interested in the deep dive that you get from our friends at ASMG TV, what you can do is you can go to YouTube and you can go to the ASMG channel, and you can give a listen to and give a watch to what they're producing every single week when it comes to UPSL. We're going to kind of take a peek in every week, and we'll let you know what the schedule looks like. And if you are in the footprint of the UPSL in Georgia North and South, then no, I don't want standings. I want schedule. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to look at the schedule. And it's like, yeah, here's your standings. No, I don't want that. So going into the schedule here for the weekend when it comes to Georgia and the footprint, it starts off this weekend. What is the 11th? Let's see. So Thursday's the 9th, Friday's the 10th. So Saturday the 11th, you've got the one matchup, and it's a light week in the Premier League here in the state of Georgia for both North and South. FC Birmingham at Gardendale is hosting Pachuca, Georgia. Georgia Impact up at Cherokee High School on Sunday gets Scenic City. LSA Norcross Pro at Meadow Creek takes on Georgia Revolution. Then you've got the Revs at home on the 18th at Old Warhawk Stadium at the Old Henry County High School. They take on Red Top. Pachuca, Georgia hosting Potros at Bethesda Park. And then Atlanta Fire on the 19th hosting Georgia Impact at Pinecrest Academy. And that will be one quick way to look at so Georgia North. Let me see if I missed anybody. Okay, so just the two matches in Georgia North and in Georgia South. I had it right. Okay, so it's a little light in the next couple of weeks, but keep an eye on things at ASMG TV, and they will break everything down for you. All the stories, all of them, go back on their Facebook page. They've got a bunch of interviews from all the coaches here in the footprint. So you want to boost your UPSL knowledge. We'll have segments here every single week as to what to keep an eye on when it comes to the Back Pass podcast that ASMG puts together. We'll have a segment for you here to kind of lead you toward the rest of the show and find out what's going on with the UPSL Georgia as we let you know what goes on here in and around the state, regardless of level. And it's always fun to get the stories of all of these programs here and give them out to you here on SDH AM. Now, yesterday, I meant to bring this up earlier in the show, but Disco came out and they had their words. They came out with their decisions from the previous weekend's activity. And so we had, let me see if I can find the particular, where's my disciplinary committee? Disciplinary summary. Let's see if it's here. And that is on the 25th, caution accumulation warnings. No. Okay, so you're not going to put it there. All right. The word came out on the to-do that happened and that is the official term, by the way. It was a to-do. The coming together of folks, and it was after the 90th minute, what we saw with Atlanta and Columbus. And so you have players and staff fined for the mass confrontation. So Atlanta and Columbus, both according to the disciplinary committee, in violation of the mass confrontation policy at 90 plus 2. Ooh, another bot. You're not even telling us where to go, except you're telling us to go to Streamboot. Fake section MPGEI. I was going to say MP guy, but I don't know. So fake section, you have now been officially blocked. And now fake section, you're a bot. And now we're going to say that you're a bot and that you're also a viewer solicitation bot. And then we will get you removed from everything here. So the disciplinary committee came up with their decisions after what happened late in Atlanta and Columbus. And so here's their official decision, and most of it's just fines. So both clubs violated the policy for the first time this year. Fines issued to both clubs, Tata Martino and Henrik Rudstrom. Paragraph, due to their roles in the mass confrontation, Lucas Hoyos, assistant coaches Gede Martina and Jorge Tieler, and Columbus Crew assistant coaches Phil Borger and Josh Williams will be fined for inciting and or escalating a mass confrontation. Paragraph, the disciplinary committee has fined Gerardo Martino, an additional undisclosed amount under disciplinary committee parameter 2. And so you wonder about disciplinary committee parameter 2. So you click on that when it comes to a competition guideline, and you have disciplinary competition guidelines. And so literally, if you can't find it early, okay, so officiating and disciplinary protocol, cautions and suspensions for yellow card accumulation, game suspension, good behavior incentive, bench behavior. Let's see. So, sliding down here, disciplinary committee or league office, to tell you what the disciplinary actions can be. I'm just confused. So disciplinary committee, parameter 2. Okay, and it's only halfway down the page. Parameter 2 says, quote, where the officials see an incident and issue or issued a red card, the committee will review the play for further disciplinary action. Supplemental discipline, suspension, and or fine will be administered if the committee believes, 1, the offense is egregious in nature, and or 2, it must act to protect player safety, and or 3, it must protect the integrity of the game, and or 4, the player is guilty of repeat behavior. So that is parameter 2. Incidents are subject to consideration of the official warning and official notice clause. So I'm guessing that parameter 2, they thought that the offense was egregious in nature, and or that it must act to protect player safety, and or it must protect the integrity of the game. So sections 1, 2, and 3 of parameter 2 were probably viewed by the disciplinary committee. And because of that, Gerardo Martino was fined an additional undisclosed amount for irresponsible behavior in the 93rd plus minute of the match against Columbus. Martino will serve his red card suspension during Atlanta's match against Chicago on Saturday, April 11th. Diego Rossi was fined for violating the league's policy regarding simulation and embellishment in the 82nd minute of the matchup against Atlanta United. So it was all Atlanta United except for Diego Rossi. Mass confrontation policy, fine Tata Martino, fine Henrik Rudstrom, fine Lucas Hoyos, fine Getty Martino, fine Jorge Tieler, fine crew assistant coaches Phil Borger and Josh Williams. And then according to parameter 2, it was under review. You could probably have checked off 3 of the 4 notes in the parameters to lay down everything involving Tata Martino getting an additional undisclosed fine on top of what he had, and he's serving the red card markup this week against Chicago. I'm guessing he's still going to make the trip, probably up in a box somewhere at Soldier Field. So that was that came out yesterday as well when it came to Atlanta United and Columbus Crew. So now let's get you into what else we are missing. Park. United's fighting. Braves are fighting. Spring weather mania. Yeah, exactly. Now, if that would only behave with our allergies, if it would only just give us our allergies, I thought that would be great. Just leave the allergies out of it. But no, you can't do that. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And once again, Costa Smyrniotis joining us in about 10 minutes. So we'll talk about the Canadian Premier League. We'll talk about all the things. And really, it's an education and a walkthrough because I want to find out about everything about the discussion, what it was like, any back and forth, any give and take, everybody signing off on it. Yeah, or was it just us and y'all are just going to have to do it? So it's going to be a walkthrough of everything that they are looking at, but a lot of it we've seen once again from MLS Next Pro. So very, very cool stuff that MLS Next Pro is influencing on the rest of the game. So we're going to have a good conversation coming up in about 10 minutes. All right, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important, helps them, helps us, and helps you, adding more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanatis, you get BN Sports, home of AFCON, home of a lot more than that because you get all the BNs, which means you get AFCON, you get CAF, you get the AFCON Champions League, you get the Polish League, the French League, and the Turkish League, and you get attachments to Tigo Sports and to CATV. You also get Libertadores, Sudamericana. We've got to get into that, and we'll get into that toward the end of the show because that has started. If you've missed Howard Hamilton and his Copa Libertadores podcast, set your notifications because they're going to come out fast and furious, and Howard's coming up on a milestone, coming up on show 100. Soccer for US POD is well on its way north of 100, heading to 150. During this cycle of the Libertadores, Howard Hamilton is going to hit 100 shows with us on the Copa Libertadores podcast. So very, very cool stuff there. Now, soccer on the tube today. BN, they got a lot. Turkish League at 1. Sudamericana at 6 and 8:30. Libertadores is at 10 o'clock. Once again, BN beat an Espanyol, both of those. FS1 has the back end of the CONCACAF matchups from today. Toluca and LAG's at 11 o'clock. FS2 has Tigres in Seattle. They also have the league we don't talk about at 2 o'clock. Bien en Español simulcasting, as we said. Fox Deportes, Honduran League at 9:30. 2 to NA has Champions League matchup at 3 with Barcelona and Atletico de Madrid. They've got the Europa League matchup at 12:45. And they've got the doubleheader in CONCACAF. Unimas simulcasting CONCACAF. Univision simulcasting Champions League. Fox ONE has the league we don't talk about. They've got the 2 Champions Cup matches, and they've also got the Honduran League at 9:30. Paramount Plus obviously has both of your Champions League matches and the Europa League match at 12:45. So it's a fairly light day when it comes to what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. But it's all heavyweight stuff that we'll talk about tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, just to let you know, Max Anderson, play-by-play voice of Chicago Fire, is going to join us at 9:30 before the Power Hour of Nino and Nico at 10 and 10:30, and we'll get you all of the highlights from what happened today in the first half hour, and we'll let you know what else is going on. So Max Anderson, Nino, Nico tomorrow on Thursdays. We get you sprinting in toward the remainder of the week in Major League Soccer, and we mentioned that Steve Cangelosi is going to join us on Friday morning at 10, as he and Danny Higginbotham have Charlotte and Nashville. We're going to talk about that, and we'll talk about all of the things going on in the Kanji man's mind here. Handful of matches into the season here in 2025. So I'm seeing if there are any headlines that I missed. Oh, Southampton dropped Wrexham 5-1 yesterday. So that means that Southampton is now in the top 6 and Wrexham is now out of the top 6 when it comes to promotion playoffs in the EFL Championship. Now, getting into transfers and stuff. It's the official term. Atalanta right back Marco Palestra, currently on loan at Cagliari, caught the eye of Liverpool and Barcelona. Chelsea's interested in Cologne forward Said Al-Mala. Now we expound. Liverpool and Barca lining up a move to sign Atalanta and Italy international right back Marco Palestra, currently on loan to Cagliari. Team Talk reporting both clubs are among multiple teams in Europe, keeping a close eye on the 21-year-old. Arsenal, United, and Chelsea having tracked. Palestra could be available this summer for an offer in the region of €45 million. Liverpool, in particular, exploring the market to bring in a more defensive right back. Bild brings us the news about Said Al-Mala and Chelsea being interested. 10 goals in 28 appearances this season in the Bundesliga at Cologne, linked with Brighton, Everton, Brentford. Reps have dismissed an approach from Newcastle. Chelsea closely watching the situation of Darwin Nunez at Al Hilal, also from Team Talk. Recently been linked with Juve. His reps are actively exploring a return to Europe this summer after being unregistered by Inzaghi in the league we don't talk about. Elliot Anderson at Forest snubbed interest from Manchester United, according to the Daily Mirror. Not interested. Reported that City are now in pole position to sign him for around £65 million. Club officials optimistic, securing the signature before the start of the World Cup to avoid his transfer value increasing. City's backup goalkeeper James Trafford attracting interest from Spurs, according to the 3-letter paper. Spurs reported to be monitoring his situation at the Etihad. He is seen as the second choice behind Donnarumma this year, seen as the ideal replacement for Inter Milan-linked Guglielmo Vicario, but Newcastle and Villa could emerge as suitors if he becomes available. Juve weighing up a move for Alisson, according to Calcio Mercato. Spalletti has identified him as an ideal potential replacement for Michele Di Gregorio, having previously coached him during his time at Roma. Bianconeri reportedly optimistic of being able to match the €8 million per season salary, but could negotiate to lower the €20 million valuation. Other rumors. Stuttgart midfielder Angelo Stiller remains on the radar of the Premier League. United, one of those, open to paying the €40 million release clause, according to Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Al Ittihad winger Moussa Diaby keen on a switch to Internazionale. Juve considering a move for Al Ahly midfielder Kessie. It's from Gazzetta dello Sport. Harry Maguire turned down a move to Messi and Friends before signing his new contract at Old Trafford, according to the 3-letter paper. Could you imagine having Harry Maguire on that back line? Give you somebody else to run at or run around? Once again, 3-letter paper on that one. Kieran Trippier keen on a switch to a foreign team when his contract at St. James Park expires this summer following the success of his previous spell at Atletico de Madrid. Four-letter paper says that Manchester United want to part ways with Andre Onana when he returns from his loan spell at Trabzonspor. Clubs in the Premier League could attempt to land Nottingham Forest right back Nico Williams in the summer, according to Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool's Ibrahima Konate set to receive a huge salary increase as he nears signing a new deal to stay put at Anfield, according to Nicolo Schira. And Chelsea women have entered in talks to sign Ivory Coast international and Right to Dream Academy forward Insira Safi. That's from the BBC. Speaking of the women's game, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but the group that owns Southampton's women's team, they have sold their interest, Tom Gary at The Guardian, to Bay Collective. And so now Bay Collective, this is a multi-club ownership model on the women's side. They own Bay FC in the U.S. Kira Berry got her first England call-up, by the way. So Tom Gary reports that Sunderland's women's team, taken over by Bay Collective, which have agreed to buy a majority stake in the WSL 2 club subject to league approval, comes with plans to enhance the training ground and the academy to create, quote, a platform for sustained success at the highest levels, 8th in WSL 2 with 2 matches to go. And Bay Collective, for those of you that may not know, is backed by the U.S. investment firm 6th Street. Kay Cossington, chief executive of Bay Collective, working with their DFO, Anja van Ginhoven, who was the GM of England's national team, worked together at the FA during the breakthrough years in 22 and 23. So Cossington, quoted as saying, quote, we are committed to honoring Sunderland women's DNA and legacy, protecting what makes this club and community so special, supporting the players, staff, and the academy with cutting-edge resources, infrastructure, and training models tailored to the unique needs of women athletes. This is a partnership for the long term, and our ambition is to strengthen Sunderland women's connection with fans and partners while creating a platform for sustained success at the highest levels of the women's game, end quote. BIA Sports Group currently owns them. Tom Burwell admits, he's the CEO, that they considered several options throughout the one-year process. Bay Collective stood out for their global expertise. Bay once again entered the NWSL last year, finished 7th, got into the playoffs, finished 13th last year. Early on, 4 matches. They're in 10th. Emma Coates is their head coach, and Emma Coates worked under Cossington at the FA. We mentioned Kira Berry getting her first senior call-up for England, and now that you have Niam Charles also called up. Their additions come after London City forward Freya Godfrey withdrew because of a shoulder injury. Berry was promoted from the U23s, product of Manchester United's academy, also played for Crystal Palace and Sunderland before signing with Bay back in February. 4 NWSL matches, scoring against North Carolina back in March. And so England squad meets at St. George's to begin preps for the world champions Spain on Wembley on April 14th. They play Iceland in Reykjavik on the 18th. What's that one going to be like? April 18th in Reykjavik. Mid-April in Iceland. I don't know. I mean, so it's 10 days away. But 10 days away in Iceland. All right, I'll bite. Hang on. I'm going to see what it looks like. Let me see if I can get there in time. So, let's see. Let me see if I could spell Reykjavik first and foremost. All right, so Reykjavik, Iceland. Today, just to get the temperatures. 10-day forecast. Today, it's a high of 45. Okay, that's not too bad. So, high near 45 Fahrenheit. So, on the 18th, the temperature in the 40s, but it's raining. 50-50 shot of rain on the 18th, so it'll be in the 40s, maybe the 30s, so it won't be completely and totally just, everybody wrapped up in anything and everything that's theirs, and you got like 9 layers out there on the pitch, and you can't see anybody's faces, and they're wearing toques, kind of like the Winter Classic that we see in the National Hockey League, where you see toques on keepers, masks, and things like that for effect and keeping everything warm. It won't be like that. It'll be in the 40s, and legitimately in Iceland right now, as we sit here and do the forecast for Reykjavik for the next 10 days, it literally is 40s and 30s. It's not moving. It literally is the same temperature. Of course, it could be like the juice box purveyors that sit there and go, we don't know. We're just going to put a number up. But right now, 40s and 30s. So it's not bad. But there is a wind that could be up to 20 miles an hour when you play. It will be an interesting dynamic. Don't get me wrong. It'll be an interesting dynamic to see, and what the deal is with all of those folks. But yeah, so they're going to be playing they're going to be playing in Reykjavik, Iceland. Temps in the 40s and the 30s. Okay, this is going to be cool. Morning Lokeville, and when we saw this go down, we were like, okay, hey, we've got to reach out here. We got to find out about anything and everything going on in the Canadian Premier League, because there's some stuff happening here in the 2026 season. Kickoff was last weekend, by the way, and you can catch it on like FS2 and OneSoccer.ca and all that stuff. A lot of new stuff going on. And so we raised our collective hand and we were like, hey, we'd like to ask some questions. And joining us is someone who is not on a plane for the first time in a couple of days. Costa Smyrniotis, the EVP of the league. Good to see you this morning. Thanks for dropping in.
Happy to be with you. Happy to be on the ground and not on a plane, so we can make this happen.
No doubt. How many miles do you think you put in on a year in planes and cars and hotels and things?
I don't even want to check, to be honest. Right. So let's not even go there.
But at least you're getting the miles and points out of the deal, right?
I hope there's some perks at the end of the road. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Reason that we wanted to have you on was to break down everything that is going on that is new, and we with the rule changes, implementations, trials, and all of that kind of stuff. And it's stuff that here we have seen in MLS Next Pro in some aspects, and it has rolled over to IFAB, and IFAB was like, yeah, okay. And the Canadian Premier League raised their hand and were like, yeah, okay, we'll try that, and we'll try some other things too. First thing I wanted to talk about was the Wenger offside rule and the idea that you were like, yeah, we'll try that here. How far back of a discussion was it to have that as a trial this season in the CPL?
Well, the try piece is, something that sometimes it's just a little bit, reactive, and it's just being in the right place at the right time. I think the key with us, and being such a young league, yet very ambitious league, is just to kind of get ahead of these things. Innovation is at the core of kind of what we do here, and it's really important values of our competition. So you try and have these discussions ahead of time to kind of figure out where you can modernize the game, where there are opportunities, because as a young league too, you're not stuck to a lot of history. So you have the opportunity to engage the game in a different way. You have a different, ability to engage fans in a different way, all for trying to create a more positive scene on the field and off the field. And so for us, having these discussions, and who better to go to than, FIFA, to be able to kind of have these discussions and understand what are they thinking, a few years out. And in all those discussions, this topic came about that, they had been trialing it in various competitions, lower level competitions, but now was the time really that they wanted to push this to a first division level competition, proper national competition. So it just kind of made sense. And then all of a sudden the conversation started getting real late last year about, this is important to our top management at FIFA. Can you make it equally important at the Canadian Premier League? So we have a proper assessment about what this can or can't be going forward. And, once those conversations completed, then we were up and running, ready to go starting last weekend with our opening weekend.
How much of an adjustment or conversations was it with all of the heads of state, with the individual franchises? Yeah, we want to do this. Yeah, we're in. We'll go for it. How much back and forth was there, and everybody in from the absolute beginning on this?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, one thing, we're very fortunate. All our clubs and the leadership at all our clubs are always on board when it comes to opportunities to better the game. When it comes to opportunities, especially with something like this, where the ultimate goal of of the trial is to assess a recalibration, if you like, of the offside rule, which to lead to more attacking football, which means more entertaining football, which ultimately means more people paying attention. And when you kind of explain it that way, I think for ownership and all stakeholders in the game, they're very positive and very supportive. So we've had that with our ownership groups and obviously all the clubs from day one. So we're very fortunate, which makes opportunities like this a lot easier to act on.
So after match week 1, has the league office gotten feedback one way or the other, or are folks just still kind of riding it out right now?
Well, I think there's week 1, of course, was a lot of anticipation. We had a lot of global attention around the league, like the amount of inquiries coming in globally about the offside rule, a little bit on FVS as well, which is kind of a complementary piece that we've added to this, has been tremendous because everybody's curious. And some leagues are looking at this and saying, okay, what does it really look like? Everybody has some assumptions about what the new interpretation of the offside can be. We're now going to start seeing it in real life. So you're seeing more and more people tune into the matches. You're seeing more people reach out to colleagues at our clubs, reach out to us, because everybody's curious. Now, to come out with some major takeaways from week 1 is probably still a little too early. It's going to be an ongoing process. There's a whole process built around evaluating what do the games look like, from tactics to physical traits to everything you could possibly think of that FIFA's taking the lead on. And once they kind of have some materials ready, we'll obviously share that with everybody. But all in all, I thought it was a very positive weekend with a lot of great buzz for our competition and our teams and obviously our players.
You're kind of stealing my notes here and reading my follow-up questions. I wanted to get into FVS and everything else that's being instituted this season as well. We've seen it in I want to say the U18s, U21 tournaments and things like that when it comes to CONCACAF, where we have seen the card challenges from coaches and everything. Hey, go take a look at this, that kind of a thing. Why bring in FVS as a part of everything else? Was it just something that you're like, yeah, okay, we see this and we'll see if it can work here as well? What was the background on that?
Well, we wanted also, as we went down this topic of the offside trial, to have some complementary officiating technology available as well. And we wanted to kind of get the right technology to best complement. The trial is at the forefront of everything we're doing, the offside trial. So you wanted to ensure that, that stayed at the forefront. VAR right now is obviously a big topic in world football. It's actually, in my opinion, VAR is such a good technology that has led us to an offside trial because, offsides now are being called very much on the margin. So the idea was, could you take this other officiating support technology, FVS, which is also in a trial phase? It would probably be a better match for the offside trial. And at the same time, now for FIFA, this is a great benefit of, evaluating both at the same time. And to be honest, I was really intrigued also with the challenge system. I just thought that it could create a little bit less complexity around the whole video review system. And, for people in the stands or people watching on broadcast, especially in North American sport where a challenge system is very much recognized and accepted, why not see how that works in our sport as well? And really, is that turn into better fan engagement? Do people really accept it? Do people get off their seats when they see a coach, give an official a card, a little bit the opposite effect? And, as you're laughing, I'm laughing as well, about that topic. So we have this great trial. Why don't we put a technology next to it that makes maybe a little bit more sense, for the actual offside trial, and we evaluate both at the same time.
So when it came to instituting the infrastructure that's attached to FVS / and to a lesser degree, probably just the implementation of the offside rule, how much of an investment was it for the league to make sure that you had the infrastructure in place so FVS could be in its purest 100% form? And so you've got everything that you need when it comes to equipment and analysis for it.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like we're very fortunate, with One Soccer that we have a really great production. We got all the cameras in place already in all our matches. More than enough to handle VAR, let alone FES. But if you look at the backbone of it's FES and VAR are the exact same backbone in terms of camera requirement, in terms of the actual software in the background, how everything gets looked at. We have a virtual offside line. It's the exact same thing. The only difference really is in the people that are kind of behind the camera. VAR obviously having officials, and FES only utilizing a replay operator, and that's really the only difference between the two. So it was quite the undertaking to have it in place for the start of the season, but we just had a great team here on the ground, are obviously to be able to put this all together and hit the ground running on week 1.
How much of a learning curve was it for all of the officials that are sanctioned for CPL play to go, okay, what you knew, you kind of have to put to the side. We're using the Wenger version this year, and then you'll also have FES to help you out. How much of an adjustment was it for them?
Well, I think there's been quite a bit, and I won't speak for them, but we have the new offside interpretation. You got FES. We also introduced early some of the new IFAB rules that were going to take place starting at the World Cup. So we've obviously brought them in, very similar to the goalkeeper rule from last year, which was very successful. Now on throw-ins and goal kicks, and I noticed it on the weekend. I was at a couple of our matches, and referees already got their hand up counting down goal kicks, and so you already saw the play speed up a little bit, especially late in the game when maybe a club is up. You're taking a little bit extra time in a goal kick, so you already saw it in effect. So I think we need to be supportive of officials. It's not easy. It's the first time around, but as the season goes along, I'm sure everything will get better and better.
Yeah, and you mentioned those rules and those others that we're used to seeing through MLS Next Pro. You're looking at throw-ins and goal kicks where lollygagging is no longer allowed. I think that's the official soccer term, lollygagging. You're not supposed to do that anymore. And it's if you're deliberately delaying a throw-in or a goal kick, it's a 5-second visual countdown. And then if you don't put the ball in play after the 5-second visual, it's either flipping the possession on the throw-in or turning it into a corner. Then substitutions, and like I said, this is what we're used to seeing from MLS Next Pro. It's got to be done in an expeditious manner. Yep. Where 10 seconds, then it's the board's up, 10 seconds, you got to get out, or it's, as I've been referencing it, it's basically a power play for a minute. The folks can understand man advantage and that kind of a thing, and then off-field treatment and assessment. In MLS Next Pro, it's 10 seconds. Referee's discretion, understanding the situation, but hey, you got to get up, or it's going to be another minutes power play or man advantage. With those three, when you look at those three as a group, obviously you're looking to speed the game up, and you're trying to take kind of the gamesmanship out of it too.
Correct. And I think if you look at just kind of when FIFA kind of came out with their decision alongside IFAB, I think that was front and center. It was about speeding up a little bit the tempo of the match, and ensuring that we have a little bit less disruption in the game. I mean, there's no doubt with the video technology, there's been, a little bit of disruption during matches, and this is trying to recalibrate everything. So this is kind of looking at other parts of the game where we can win back some time. And, and I think they'll have that effect. I thought that, last year when there was a little bit of concern around the goalkeeper topic, it was a non-issue. I thought it worked very well. And on the weekend, I'll give an example. I had, going into the weekend, I thought, I saw a little bit of concern or read about some concern around, long throw-ins that have crept back into the game, and whether this new rule would kind of take those away. And, got it this weekend. I saw quite a few long throw-ins. So players are smart. They know how to adapt to rules, and they figure it out. And just give them the tools, and they will do what they got to do, which they do really well in our competition. So I was really glad to see some of those takeaways on the weekend.
EVP of the Canadian Premier League, Costa Smyrniotis, hanging out with us, breaking down all of the new pages in the back of the book that they're instituting this season that really need to be at the front of the book a lot of the time. When you thought and you were bringing all of these new implementations online, did you burn up your phone lines and sit there and talk to other folks in other leagues and other countries to get feedback if they've instituted this, if they've done this? Did you talk to MLS Next Pro? What was your back and forth from an executive standpoint with other leagues and other individuals on your level when you were thinking, yeah, we're going to do this next year?
Yeah, you're always checking, and through FIFA, I mean, obviously that was starting point, but we're part of the World Leagues Forum, which is a great organization bringing together, many of the top competitions globally. So it's always a good opportunity there with colleagues to kind of speak what's working in your competition and, vice versa, what's working here. So there were conversations, and I think that's now the curiosity is, you're actually going to do this. So everybody's kind of sitting back and watching and, trying to understand what it means. And, obviously looking for some feedback as well, because, there's an opportunity next year, whether the trial continues or whether there's a decision that, this is the new way forward, one way or another, it will affect everybody. So it's great to have colleagues in the space globally to be able to kind of have these discussions and learn from them and vice versa. So it's going to be an interesting year for sure.
And I know that we're talking about something down the line, and I know that you probably have your self-imposed guideposts. What would your timetable be to figure out, okay, we're going to bring this back? What are your markers to sit there and go, levels of success for A, B, C, D, and E? Yeah, we'll bring this back. No, we won't bring this back. What are you looking for when it comes to that?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a holistic view. I mean, the trial is ultimately led by FIFA, and we're here to support. So we're going to take a lot of the guidance from there and kind of the takeaways from there, kind of research. They're putting a very big research team around this as well to better understand and answer a lot of questions around it. So once that's in place, then I think we'll sit down as a good partner with them and really understand what's the best next steps here. And if the next steps are this is being implemented, well, then, CPL is one of many in terms of, this being the norm going forward, or if the opportunity is, and we've seen great fan engagement, we've seen great acceptance, we've seen our teams adapt. We see in a league that we are currently where, stuff like, goals in our league are at a very healthy level, attacking football, ball in plays at a healthy level within our competition. As long as we don't see deterioration in metrics that for me are more about the entertainment value of the match, then, we'll continue along with the project for sure.
Because there's a fine line between increasing entertainment value, and I know a lot of folks that are looking at the Wenger rule offside and sitting there going, okay, it's going to be like the NHL back in the 80s with Edmonton, where it's going to be like 7-6 and all this kind of stuff. Is there any concern of straddling that line at all?
To be honest, no, because again, it comes back to what I kind of said earlier is in general, we're already a little bit of, an attacking minded competition. We've seen that over the years. But, I have a lot of faith. There's a tremendous amount of good work being done within our clubs. Our clubs are playing some, very good football, coaches in place within our competition. They're very good at what they do. And, if, as long as you give them the parameters, they will figure out the best way to be able to work, within their style, within their philosophy, within those parameters. So everybody adjusts. And when you adjust, some will adjust in terms of, their attacking play. Some will adjust in terms of their defensive play. But ultimately, I don't see, a big change in what we're currently seeing today.
Are there any other parts of the game that for you as an executive vice president that you think need to be addressed, need to be fine-tuned, buttoned up? Whether it's concussion protocols and subs or anything like that, what else is on that big whiteboard that's off camera on the to-do list for the Canadian Premier League that I don't see right now?
Yeah, I think for the most part on the rules side, it's complementary to, like I mentioned earlier, to FIFA and all the topics that are on board there. I'm totally on board about in terms of the whole match tempo and ball in play. So anything that encourages that, I think, what's taken place over the last 2 years in terms of changes have been considerable. So, how much more comes after that, I don't know, but I think we're in a much better spot in terms of the goal kick, goalkeeper, throw in. So I think we're addressing all of that for sure. I think just now, what's going to be the next evolution of the video officiating technology, which obviously works into the match tempo piece as well to ensure there's not too much disruption. I think we're already starting to address injuries in a better way as well. We just want the game moving. We want the game, a good flow in the game, and obviously providing a good product to our fans. So in that sense, I think the rules topic will be dealt with, by our friends at FIFA within the actual competition. For us, we look at it more about just kind of roster composition, how we're encouraging more and more quality use of young domestic talent. Ultimately, if you're looking for a Canadian player, it's the Canadian Premier League that you're coming to. So we've put a lot of those mechanisms in place over the years, and you're starting to see it resonate more and more, where we're starting to find the next stars in Canadian football, and they're within our clubs. They're actually getting meaningful minutes, meaningful development, and a platform from which then they can move on to a much bigger competition.
Yep, and you're making noise in the Can Champ, and you're making noise in CONCACAF, in the CONCACAF Champions Cup as well, and it's great to see that. And I know that those of us that know your last name, I know that we're kind of keeping an eye on the folks that are in Hamilton for a particular franchise as well, and seeing what's going on there. I cannot thank you enough for doing this, especially out of number one match week and everything that is attached to all of that. I can't thank you enough for this. It's been a great education, finding out what's going on in the Canadian Premier League. One more question for you. For someone who hasn't been watching the CPL, what are they missing out on by not watching and getting them to watch? What are they missing out on?
Well, I think what they're missing out probably is some really good football. And sometimes, we get stuck on all the other stuff, but ultimately we come back to the game. And I always try and never lose sight of the game. And for a league going into its 8th season, in challenge in terms of building a national league and then building 8 clubs and, more to follow, the quality of the play anybody who watches our competition, that's the first thing they say, wow, that's not what I expected. The production of the matches, how they're presented, when you package it all up, it's something really cool in terms of, football entertainment. So anybody who has a chance, I encourage them to do the same. It looks like, John, you've had the opportunity as well. So we really appreciate that. And we're really ambitious. We're ambitious as a competition. We want to continue getting better. We will continue getting better, and we will be the home of, some of the best young Canadian talent in the game.
So if we can bookmark that particular part of this conversation, I'd like to have you back at some point so we can talk about the league in general, how certain new franchises are going about their talent acquisition a certain way that's different from everybody else, and just talk about the growth of the league. Is it okay if we bookmark this and have you come back?
John, this conversation has been very enjoyable. I would definitely love to do it again.
Absolutely cool. EVP, that means he's a Grand Exalted Poobah of the Canadian Premier League. Costa
I'll take it.
I can't thank you enough, and definitely we'll come back and visit. And I can't thank everybody up there at the league office enough. Go get a brunch or go get your second cup of coffee. It's great to see you, my friend, and don't be a stranger. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, John. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, sir. Costa Smyrniotis, Executive Vice President of the Canadian Premier League. And that was why I wanted to have them in after match week 1, and be able to have Mr. Smyrniotis come in and break everything down, because it's like five different things that they're bringing in this year. And the Wenger offside was big, and they're going to be like, yeah, we'll start this. And, we'll go ahead and jump in and we'll do that. I thought that was interesting. And then you go from there to the cards. And like I'd mentioned, I'd seen it in CONCACAF before. Marko Mitrovic, when he was, where was he? Which one of the U's was he? I want to say it was in Mitrovic. I think it was in a U18 in CONCACAF, where he was, well, it might have been in the U20s. I think it was in a U20 tournament last year. And we saw Marko Mitrovic basically bust out a card challenging a call on the field. And that is now part of what's going on. And they had their first successful FES challenge, by the way, this past weekend in the Canadian Premier League. And it was on a penalty call, and it was reinforced by the video that was shown. And that is always going to be a concern where you have the facilities and the venues that you've got. And to me, that is always going to be one of those talking points where if you have VAR or if you have FVS, you're kind of at the mercy of the venue and the capability of the cameras that are there. So if you've got cameras, if you have angles that are kind of not behaving properly, like if you end up having slashes instead of down the line cameras, if you end up with, say, stuff behind the goal or on the goal line itself and you don't have goal cam, then that to me would be, obviously something that you're staring at. So there are gives and takes for multiple plurals. You've got a lot of give and take when it comes to how you can improve FVS/VAR, number of cameras, camera availability, camera positioning, that kind of a thing. But you've got FVS now in the Canadian Premier League. They are now having the Wenger offside in the Canadian Premier League. The stuff that we've seen in MLS Next Pro with injuries, get up or it's a minute. Then with, in addition to substitutions, get off or it's a minute, get up or it's a minute. And then you have the fifth one on the board, which is the countdown. And I'm used to seeing 10 or 8, 7 or 8. And in the Canadian Premier League, it's 5. 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you didn't get rid of the ball. We're either flipping possession on a throw-in or turning a goal kick into a corner. We've seen it a couple of times already in MLS Next Pro this year where you've had a goal kick converted to a corner kick. So I think having this conversation that we had with Mr. Smyrniotis this morning, I think if we have it at the end of the year to gather all of the empirical evidence, I think it would be important. Also, I wanted to have a conversation with him about the league in and of itself, because you've got a new franchise that is in Quebec province in FC Supra, and they are specifically taking only Quebec footballers. So they've taken that approach, and we're gonna just have Quebec football players, and that's going to be our roster. We've seen it in other leagues and other places, but this is the first time I think that it's been this close. So Supra has decided that's going to be their approach. And I mentioned Smyrniotis because there is a Smyrniotis that is coaching Forge, and that was where Costa came from to take the job as an EVP with the league. So that was where the Forge tie-in came from. So there's a lot to discuss when it comes to the CPL. And so that was why I wanted to have this conversation early in the season about all the rules that they're implementing and trialing. And then we'll talk about the league, and then we'll find out the empirical evidence, what stays, what goes, that kind of thing, as the season goes along. So I can't thank everybody up at the CPL offices for making that happen. And I'm glad that we were able to have that conversation just as kind of an education as to what's going on in the CPL this year. So can't thank them enough. Very, very cool conversation that we were able to have there when it comes to the CPL and what they're trying this season. So very, very cool stuff there. Okay. Before we get out of here, it is Libertadores Sudamericana. Any other headlines before we go? Red Clay Wednesday is at noon. And we find out what's going on with Scott New at Carrollton. He just cleared a milestone. We'll find out what's going on with him on the boys' side, and then we'll catch up with Christopher Spreel from Long County. They're having a really good season on the girls' side in the lower classifications. And so we'll go over brackets as we know them, because we're about a week away from the end of the regular season. So it's brackets, it's standings, it's rankings, it's Carrollton, it's Ludowici, and it's you on Red Clay Soccer Report. That comes up at noon here on the network. So we'll go through everything that we have on the news side of things, Libertadores Sudamericana, and then we'll be back at noon to let you know what's going on the high school side, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. See right there over my shoulder. All right, so yesterday in Libertadores, it was Tolima and Universitario, a goalless draw. Boca Juniors, they were favored over Universidad Católica. They did get a 2-1 win. Liga de Quito over Always Ready, 1-0. Barcelona loses to Cruzeiro by the score of 1-0. Independiente Rivadavia, 1-0 winner over Bolivar. Bolivar had a red card, so they finished with 10. And La Guaira, with the surprise results so far, over Fluminense on day one. It was a goalless draw. So La Guaira was a massive underdog going into this match. And at the Estadio Olímpico de la UCV, they were a plus 550 to win. Draw was plus 270. And so if you had plus 270, pick the draw with La Guaira and Fluminense, you came out pretty good. So that was a well done by you if you had the draw with La Guaira and Fluminense today. Today, we do have another couple of matchups to get you through, and it is 8:30 as an example. Flamengo on the minus side, a minus 120 hosting as at Cusco. Cusco is a plus 375. Your draw is a plus 240. Also, 6 o'clock tonight, it is Coquimbo Unido and Nacional. At 6 o'clock, it is Mirasol and Lanús with our friend Marcelina Moreno, who is winning hardware for Lanús. Group A at 8 o'clock, Independiente Medellin and Estudiantes. Keep an eye on that one. Cusco Flamengo is at 8:30, along with Group F, Junior Barranquilla and Palmeiras. 10 o'clock, the late one tonight, Sporting Cristal, where you can have your Luis Abram update, and Cerro Porteño. That is tonight at 10 o'clock. And so it's another 2, 4, 6 matches today in the Copa Libertadores. In Copa Sudamericana, as I sit here and try to type Sudamericana and get the lay of the land there when it comes to the matchups with Sudamericana. Santos is at Cuenca. They are an underdog today. Cuenca at home is a plus 135 at 6 o'clock. Draws a plus 200. Santos is a plus 240. Yesterday, Racing and our old friend Santi Sosa, 3-1 winners over Independiente. And it's is it Independiente Petrolero? And Gonzalo Sosa, not Santi, but Gonzalo Sosa scored in the 27th. And it was, I'm going to have to hit this. Yeah, Independiente Petrolero loses 3-1 at home to Racing. It was Gonzalo Sosa, Gaston Martirena, and Adrian Fernandez at 90 plus 4. So Racing gets the win in their first match, 3-1 at Independiente Petrolero. Now, also, Baracas Central and Vasco da Gama. Baracas finishes with 10 and a goalless draw. O'Higgins, I'm not kidding, that's the name of the team. O'Higgins, 2-0 win over 10-man Millonarios. Sao Paulo, and all of their financial problems, they had enough to knock off Boston River by the score of 1-0. Alianza Atletico and Tigre, they tied at 1. Today, 6 o'clock, Cuenca and Santos, Recoleta and San Lorenzo in Group D. Group F at 6 o'clock, Deportivo Riestra and Palestino. It is Audax Italiano and Olimpia is at 8 out of Group G. In the Sudamericana, Group F has Torque and Gremio at 8:30. Then they have Blooming and River Plate. Blooming. I'm not kidding. Blooming and River Plate, some of the best names ever. So Blooming and River Plate is at 8:30. And at 10 o'clock tonight, the late one is Puerto Cabello and Atletico Mineiro. So you have 2, 4, 6, 7 matches tonight in Sudamericana. You have 6 in Libertadores. And so that is you have 13 matches in Libertadores and Sudamericana tonight. So if you had BN, then you could watch a great deal of those, if not probably find a way to buzz around and catch highlights in any of all of them. And we'll talk about those 13 tomorrow once again as a part of everything. Tomorrow, just once again as a reminder, it is going to be Max Anderson, the play-by-play voice of the Chicago Fire, joining us at 9:30 before the Power Hour with Nino and Nico at 10 and 10:30. and breaking everything down in and around the planet. I would imagine that most of our Libertadores and Sudamericana discussion is going to be with our friend Nino Torres, and that's going to be, once again, that's going to be 10 o'clock in the 10 o'clock half hour tomorrow, and so we'll have that discussion as we go. Now I'm going to tour quickly, see if I've missed anything when it comes to all of the news and notes, and let you know what's going on. Remember, the Champions League 3 o'clock kicks. 3 o'clock kicks today. So if you are out and around, make sure that all of your errands are done, or at least you have a way to listen to what's going on. We've been discussing the money that has been frozen. The assets are frozen by Roman Abramovich by the British government. We have an update on that. Tom Morgan at the Telegraph. And Tom Morgan has the latest, and he says that a British diplomat with ties to one of Sir Keir Starmer's top advisors has been named as a trustee of the proposed charity Abramovich will use to distribute the £2.35 billion proceeds from the Chelsea sale. Martin Griffiths, who worked closely with Jonathan Powell, Tony Blair's former chief of staff, will sit on a board for the Abramovich-backed Global Fund. It is a decision, according to Morgan, that will test the government's refusal to allow the funds to be spent in places other than Ukraine. Powell is now the prime minister's most influential advisor on national security and foreign policy. In 2011, Powell and Griffiths founded peacemaking organization, and peacemaking in quotation marks, Intermediate. The organization focuses, quote, on the most difficult, complex, and dangerous conflicts where other organizations are unable to operate. Griffiths served as an undersecretary general at the UN from 21 to 24, is among 4 high-profile appointments to a charity that has applied for registration, while the 4-year row, Morgan's words, over the Chelsea cash continues between Abramovich and the British government. Application to the Charity Commission was filed over the weekend detailing Abramovich's plan to spend the proceeds on war victims anywhere, in quotation marks, rather than only in Ukraine, which has been at war with Russia since 2022. Government has yet to respond to the Telegraph for questions about commenting on whether it will give its permission for the charity to be set up. Foundation seeking registration in an application led by Mike Penrose, a former UNICEF UK chief exec, and the charity will have an official remit of, quote, being for the public benefit, saving of lives, and relief of suffering through the provision of humanitarian assistance to people in need anywhere in the world who are victims of conflict by the provision of grant financing or other suitable support to organizations able to provide relief, humanitarian assistance, post-conflict support, and or reconstruction, end quote. Remains to be seen whether the government, according to Morgan, will make any emergency moves to block the registration. And so those involved insist the details to be registered this week are aligned with Abramovich's legal position with the government throughout. Falling out with the government over the remit of the charity has resulted in an almost 4-year delay in releasing what would be, according to Morgan, an unprecedented donation by an individual to such causes. So keep an eye on that when it comes to the registration of this charity and then the funds as they were to be distributed. Let's see. Is it the Times? Where's the Times? Okay, here we go. I was trying to figure out where the Times was and where the other stuff is. All right. So according to the Times newspaper, Hearts could win the first title since 1960 at Celtic Park on the final day. Don't tell that to Jarrett Smith. Let's see. Also trying to see if there are any other sports that I might have missed and any other stories that I might have missed. I think we're in decent shape. One more newspaper, and then I'll check the main network over there, and we'll find out what's going on. We mentioned the retirement of Aaron Ramsey, the signing of Harry Maguire, signing the 1-year extension. Mircea Lucescu, the Romanian football coach and coaching legend and footballer, he passed away at the age of 80, and he passed away after appearing in the playoff semifinal between Turkey and Romania. And Bucharest University Emergency Hospital. And he was a part of the Romanian football national team for the European Championship in 1984. Lengthy coaching career. It was his second spell with the Romanian national team. Stepped down last Thursday after falling ill during training. And a lot of you may remember his time after his first tour, where he went to Shakhtar Donetsk and was there for the better part of a decade and led them to their successes both in Ukraine and in Europe. And always be revered, Serhii Palkin, who is the team president of Shakhtar Donetsk, posted a statement on their website thanking Mr. And that was his nickname. It was Mr. Lucescu. So thanking Mr. for everything that he had done for the program. So we lose a great statesman in Mircea Lucescu for European football at the age of 80. Let me check one more network, and then we'll be back at noon once again for and we'll be back for a Red Clay Wednesday at noon. Once again, visits to Carrollton and to Long County. And apparently Eddie Nketiah has suffered another injury setback after a 4-month layoff. Oliver Glasner cannot be pleased about that. And so light day once again, Europa League, Champions League today. Then it's Europa League, Champions League, or it's a Europa League and Conference League tomorrow. Friday, we're back at it with the championship and with the Premier League. But I think we are in decent shape when it comes to everything around. Once again, if you missed anything here, go ahead and subscribe to the Morning Espresso newsletter that Jason pieces together and has in your inbox every morning. Go to soccerdownhere.net. You can subscribe there. And you can find out anything and everything that is going on that Jason wants to start your day with. And building something real at the SDH Network, Morning Espresso is the foundation of it. It's daily, it's free, and soccerdownhere.net. And it's put together by folks that know the game. Get on the list, start your morning right with SDH and the Morning Espresso. Go to soccerdownhere.net and subscribe. So go ahead, subscribe. And you get that in your inbox every morning. And it has started now where it is Monday through Friday. It's literally 7 days a week. As we get closer to the World Cup, Morning Espresso is in there on the weekends too. It is a newsletter that is must-have for reference, to start your day, get you ready for SDH AM, all points in between. And recommending that you subscribe to it. Once again, go to soccerdownhere.net. You'll scroll down the page. You'll see the subscribe bar. Put your email in, and the newsletters are yours. So that's another go-round of SDH AM. Back in about 45 minutes. We'll break everything down in the high school game in the GHSA with a little bit more than a week left in the regular season, and then we get into the playoffs. 2 more weekly episodes of Red Clay Wednesday. Then we hit playoffs. It's daily. Coming up at noon, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Visits to Carrollton and Ludowici coming up in that hour. And we'd love to have you join us. Standings, brackets, it is schedules and coaches and interviews and thoughts and rankings, all the things coming up from a noon to 1 here on the network with the Red Clay Wednesday, Red Clay Soccer Report, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. High school coverage coming up noon Eastern. As always, thanks to everybody for being a part of it all, and thanks to you for being a part of it too. Thanks to Costa Smyrniotis, the EVP of the Canadian Premier League, to come in and break down everything that they're trialing this year, and we'll see how it goes. For everybody here at SDH, thanks for dropping by. See you back here top of the hour for high school coverage. Since it's the end of the show, mucha platiel, play it safe. It means I get to do this. See you in a bit.